Sabres captain gets into a fight with a fellow teammate during a practice this week, an update on the aftermath of Hurricane Milton, and your chance to own a piece of Game of Thrones history. These stories and more, News 11 starts right now.
Good evening and welcome back to News 11. I'm Julia Skiba.
And I'm Kellyanne Hender.
Before we get into our local news, we have a breaking headline for you this evening.
Former member of the band One Direction, Liam Payne, has just died at age 31, according to authorities. He fell from the third floor of a hotel in Palermo neighborhood in Buenos Aires. He was most known for his membership in One Direction and his solo debut in 2019. Payne is survived by his former band members Harry Styles, Zayn Malik, Louis Tomlinson, and Niall Horan. He is also survived by his son Bear Gray. This is a developing story. Now on to your local news.
Village officials in Mayville expressed thanks to local community members who volunteered to help assemble their new playground equipment. Around 60 people came out to Lakeside Park to install the new parts from October 4th through the 5th. A smaller playground was also installed at Peril Gravitt Memorial Park. Along with village employees and community adults, students from Chautauqua Lake Central School's manufacturing class and Girl Scout representatives contributed as well. Trustee Jana Webb commented about the kids saying, quote, "They did a great job. Those wheelbarrows were heavy and they were out there hauling them back and forth," end quote. The total cost for the playground equipment was about $140,000. The village funded it using resources from the American Rescue Plan Act provided by the federal government after the COVID-19 pandemic. Mayville Mayor Rick Seiper thanked all employees, especially Treasurer Jean Aubert, who was the main organizer behind the projects.
Current Vice President and the Democratic presidential candidate Kamala Harris made a campaign stop Monday night at the Erie Insurance Arena. Hundreds of attendees waited in line for hours, some as early as 3 p.m. The rally was expected to be at full capacity. Democratic State Senate candidate Jim Wirtz was the first to make an appearance at the rally. He told the audience that the Harris Waltz ticket will fight for teachers, unions, and all Americans. Once Harris got on stage, she made a remark towards Erie County, claiming that this is a pivotal county in terms of presidential elections. One of her newest announcements is the, quote, "Opportunity Agenda for Black Men," end quote, campaign. This plan includes $1 million fully forgivable loans of up to $20,000 for Black entrepreneurs. This campaign would help expand opportunities for Black men to land decent-paying jobs and a national health equity initiative, among multiple other opportunities. Kamala Harris's next rally is set to take place this Saturday in Atlanta, Georgia.
This past Monday, the Encore Golf Company began hosting free golf clinics to share the sport with local children. The clinics serve as a way for children to not only learn golf, but also learn valuable life skills. Kids who participate in this clinic learn the important values of hard work and dedication through playing the sport of golf. The clinic includes learning the basic rules and skills needed through Coach Ronald Langhorne. This initiative makes golf accessible to all local children and acts as a way to form connections with others, overall enhancing the lives of the youth in our local community.
Western New York natives Brielle and Ava Lavelle have raised more than $500 for charitable organizations. Their friend Angeles Hadonk also helps out with their efforts. These organizations include Lakeshore Humane Society, Silver Creek VFW Auxiliary, Forest View Pantry, and Hawk Creek Wildfire Center. The girls make and sell jewelry and donate 50% of their profits to various charities. Most recently, they raised $90 for the pantry and $83 for the Lakeshore Humane Society.
This past weekend, Peter Leonico was honored as the 2024 Person of the Year at the 116th Annual Italian Heritage Gala. After spending his lifetime educating and promoting Italian heritage and culture in Western New York, close to 300 guests paid tribute to the now retired teacher who has spent 30 years teaching Italian and Spanish to students at Hutch Tech High School in Buffalo. During his teaching career, he shared the importance of, quote, understanding our diversity and perspective, that what binds us together is stronger than what divides us, end quote. With teaching students Italian culture, visiting Little Italy neighborhoods, hosting exchange student, and nurturing relationships with sister schools with Italian students. Numerous relatives of Loiacono attended the event in support of this honor, including his 94-year-old father, Vincent. His father wanted the crowd to know that Peter's love for the Italian language came from his blind grandmother, who would share many stories with him in Italian.
Governor Kathy Hochul has announced a $44.5 million project to replace the Best Street Bridge over Kensington Expressway in East Buffalo. This comes after the state judge granted a temporary restraining order to pause work on the Kensington Expressway project, following concerns from a local group about its environmental impact. The new bridge will be wider and include a path for pedestrians and cyclists, along with 2 new roundabouts to improve the flow of traffic as well as safety. Officials expect the project to be completed by 2028.
Employees of the Weinberg Campus Nursing Home are protesting unpaid raises and benefits. On August 1st, the 300 workers of the campus came to an agreement with management, including 18-month contract, 3% raises, and retro pay. Now, months later, they have seen nothing to go into effect. This caused 150 workers to protest just last week. However, due to their union contracts, protesting is the furthest action they can take. Employees have expressed they want to keep working and see Weinberg as a second home, but the failure to take action raises concerns of job security. There is also an online petition that has been started asking for a change in leadership, including from the CEO.
Rob Ray will officially be inducted into the Sabres Hall of Fame this season. Razor marks the team's 44th inductee. He was an enforcing forward for 14 seasons and is now in his 21st year on the Sabres broadcast crew. Ray's community involvement and media presence has allowed him to remain a favorite among fans. Ray received an extended standing ovation from the crowd at KeyBank Center on Saturday night when his induction was revealed on the video board by past goaltenders Dominic Hasek and Ryan Miller, who are the 2 most recent Sabres Hall of Fame inductees. During the first intermission of Saturday's game, Ray said, quote, "It's an honor and it's a privilege to even be named with a lot of the guys on the wall," end quote. Rob Ray skated for 8,889 games for the Sabres and holds the club record with 3,189 penalty minutes, which are mostly attributed to his frequent shirtless fighting spirit. Ray became an alternate captain later in his career and even received the King Clancy Memorial Trophy in 1999. Furthermore, his charitable work includes long-standing support for Make-A-Wish and Roswell Park. Ray's Hall of Fame induction date is set to be announced in the upcoming weeks.
This past Monday, a fight broke out between 2 Sabres players at practice. It all started when Sabres center Peyton Krebs accidentally hit Rasmus Dahlin with a high stick. Moments later, Dahlin got back at Krebs, as stated by head coach Lindy Ruff, with a hip check into the open ice, which resulted in the 2 dropping gloves and breaking into a fight until they were pulled apart by teammates. After the fight, Dahlin stated his regret immediately after hitting Krebs and apologizing to him. Krebs responded with understanding, knowing Dahlin is a passionate player, and the passion took over in that moment. Ruff responded as well by saying, quote, "Boys will be boys. We want competitive practices, so I think every now and then the emotions will run a little bit high, but that's a good place to be," end quote.
The Western New York chapter of the American Red Cross has increased their efforts in the wake of Hurricanes Milton and Helen. On Saturday, a boot camp was held to train volunteers on everything they would need to know to volunteer in a relief shelter. After Hurricane Helen made landfall in the United States, thousands of Red Cross responders from all over the country were deployed for aid. While Milton came right on Helen's tail, there were not enough volunteers to respond to the extensive damage. The Red Cross is always looking for volunteers as it is a 90% volunteer-run organization. And now Western New York has a newly trained group of individuals to respond to disaster, locally or nationally. If you are interested in applying, no prior experience is necessary. Visit the Red Cross website to see all available positions. And when we return, we will have your national stories. We'll be right back.
To Sofia and Gabriel, mis flores, my little flowers. Even though these old knees can't follow on your adventure to the forest today, these flowers represent my love, so you can take me with you wherever you go, near or far. These stitches and threads join us together. Me, your mother, and both of you. And wherever you see a flower, a bird, a beautiful tree, know that my love is with you as you bring our colorful stories to the world.
Make the forest part of your story at a park near you. Find one at discovertheforest.org.
There was an old woman who lived in a shoe. She had so many children, she didn't know what to do. She gave them some broth without any bread and kissed them all soundly and put them to bed. Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org.
Those residing in Florida are currently feeling the devastating and heartbreaking effects of the second hurricane this month. Hurricane Milton, after the dangerous Category 3 storm, residents are returning to their neighborhood only to find rubble and debris where their home used to be. Some residents aren't even sure what debris is theirs, as there is still left over that wasn't cleaned up from Hurricane Helene. The hurricane has claimed 17 lives and destroyed homes, roads, and power lines, and continues to affect those in the areas as they now deal with the flooding from nearby rivers. Many evacuated to family members' homes after the destruction and flooding of their only home that they found, evacuating again as their family's home began to flood as well. Residents also dealt with their roofs collapsing or being ripped off their home and landing in their backyard. Currently, many residents are staying in hotels, unsure of when it will be safe for them to return home. One resident in Sarasota, Shirley Bonatzowick, prepared her house as best as possible for the flooding, but the strong winds of the storm ended up ripping her roof off. Cheryl has been through 4 storms, all of which have resulted in damage of her home, and due to the most recent storm, is considering leaving Florida. Although the storm itself is over, many now are dealing with the overbank flow within rivers, which is causing major flooding to their homes. East of Tampa and Veraco, Florida, resident Ralph Janito and his wife have witnessed around 15 feet of flooding since Wednesday, making their house inhabitable as their septic tank and generator are currently underwater. Many residents throughout the state continue to struggle with the damage and loss of their homes and continue to fight the flooding and after the effects of the destructive storm. To help those struggling with the hurricane effects, you can visit redcross.org.
The Haitian immigrant population of Springfield, Ohio is finding itself at the center of a heated national debate on immigration as November's election approaches. The city of Springfield estimates there are between 12,000 and 15,000 immigrants living in Clark County, most of whom are believed to be Haitians who have arrived in the past 4 years. Former President Donald Trump has stated that he would revoke temporary protected status for Haitian immigrants in Springfield if elected following the debate. The image of a city dramatically altered by immigration have been exploited by the former president and his running mate, Ohio Senator J.D. Vance. Both candidates have made multiple accusations toward the Haitian communities, which have since been refuted by the city. Ohio Governor Mike DeWine has also gone on record to say, quote, "It would be a mistake to kick these people out who are working, who are raising their families, and who are productive members of society. I think that's an economic mistake. I think it's a moral mistake as well," end quote.
11 people in Pennsylvania had to be hospitalized last week after they accidentally ingested toxic wild mushrooms, according to local fire officials. This incident happened on Friday night in the Peach Bottom Township of York County, which is also part of the state's Amish country. Reportedly, 9 of the 11 victims were children, and the family had apparently foraged the mushrooms themselves. However, it is still unclear what the exact species of the mushroom the family had eaten was. The family was treated and released, according to York County officials. units from Lancaster and Hartford. Counties were also displaced to the scene. One of the responding agencies said in a quote on Facebook that this situation was referred to as a quote mass casualty end quote due to the number of victims that had fallen ill. There were dozens of different types of toxic mushrooms that grow in the wild across the U.S. Experts say that it is never safe to eat a wild mushroom and could be delayed for multiple hours.
Broadway dancer Zalig Williams is still missing, and his family has hired a private investigator to help locate him. Williams was last seen in his home on October 3rd, and the missing persons report was filed the next day when he did not return home. This past Monday, his family took a moment of silence for him to honor the last time they saw him and let him know they are looking. Less than an hour before leaving his home, some of Williams' friends received an SOS from him. His car was found more than 20 miles away from home in an area his family was not familiar with. Authorities determined there was no evidence to support he had been in a car accident, meaning the SOS was sent by Williams himself. This added to his family's suspicion that there is foul play involved. The dance and Broadway community has been rallying around the performer's family and speaking about what a light he is in their lives. Many just want him back home safely. Chandra Cleveland, private investigator, urges individuals to report drastic changes in communication patterns of loved ones to authorities to begin investigations when it is most critical.
The new Boeing CEO has announced they will be laying off 10% of their employees. Recently, Boeing workers went on strike demanding more than 30% pay increase. In response, CEO Kelly Ortberg has made plans to downscale their workforce. The company has been facing loss after loss for a long time, stretching back to 2018, where a crash resulted in grounding Boeing planes for 20 months. And with last January, when the door of a Boeing plane was ripped off mere minutes after takeoff. This sparked numerous investigations, legal battles, and PR nightmares for the company. Ortberg became CEO of Boeing 2 months ago, shortly following the infamous incident at the start of the year.
This past weekend, 3 craft breweries in the Richmond, Virginia area brought home national medals from the Great American Beer Festival. These 3 breweries are among 9 that were recognized at this year's festival in Denver, Colorado. This competition involved hundreds of breweries from across the country. There were nearly 9,000 beers entered in more than 100 categories. President and CEO of the Virginia Craft Brewers Guild said, quote, "This year's success at the Great American Beer Festival speaks to the creativity, passion, and hard work for our brewers and their contributions to the Commonwealth's craft beer culture," end quote. There are over 300 breweries in Virginia. In total, these Virginia breweries received 4 gold medals, 3 silver medals, and 6 bronze. And when we return, Matt joins us for the first time with our sports update, and we'll have Katie for your first look at the weather. We'll be right back.
When you think of the local lowdown, what do you think of?
Well, when I think of the local lowdown, it's the live music that we have played in the studio.
It's gotta be the laughs we shared. The memorable moments during the whole thing. Oh my God, so fun.
The local lowdown for me is the people behind the scenes, the amazing team that we have making the show.
Oh, it's gotta be exploring all sorts of genres and music I've never heard before.
Oh, easy. Going out to shows and talking to artists and getting the latest news on what they have planned for the future.
It's about these artists, man. Giving them a platform to showcase what they've worked so hard on and show their music to the community. It's all about supporting the local scene of music to keep it running for years to come. And of course, the band merch. You can't forget about the merch.
We are now joined by Matt, who will be giving us our weekly sports update. So what's going on in sports, Matt?
Thanks, Jules. Swim and dive season is underway for the Fredonia State Blue Devils. Both teams opened their season against Pitt Bradford on Saturday, October 12th. The men's team fell by a final score of 91-81, while the women's team put on a show, winning all but 3 events in a 95-61 victory. Both teams are on the road Saturday for a matchup with Hobart and William Smith College. The men's soccer team was on the road against Cortland today, suffering a 5-0 loss. They will return home this Saturday to face Potsdam at 1 p.m. And the women's soccer team was at home today against Cortland, also taking home a loss by a final score of 1-0. And the women's soccer team will be on the road Saturday for a 1 p.m. tilt with Potsdam. The volleyball team is off this week following mixed results on the road last weekend. The Blue Devils took down Oneonta 3-1 on Friday, but fell to New Paltz 3-0 on Saturday. They'll return home to face Buffalo State at 1 p.m. next Saturday. The cross-country teams will conclude their regular season this weekend at Geneseo. They will be competing in the Mike Woods Invitational, which will begin at noon on Saturday. In pro sports news, the Sabres return to the ice tonight in Pittsburgh, looking to continue momentum from the weekend. On Saturday, the Sabres took down the defending Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers 5-2 in Buffalo. After falling behind early, Jordan Greenway and Tage Thompson brought Buffalo fans to their feet just 41 seconds apart, and the Sabres didn't look back. The win marked Lindy Ruff's first win as the Sabres head coach since his first coaching tenure with the team ended in 2013. Tonight's game against the Penguins is already underway with the Sabres leading 3-1. Finally, the Bills made a significant splash yesterday, acquiring former Pro Bowl wide receiver Amari Cooper from the Cleveland Browns. Buffalo traded a 2025 third-round pick and a 2026 seventh-round pick to the Browns, and the Bills received a sixth-round pick in 2025 along with Cooper. Cooper provides a veteran number 1 option for Josh Allen, something Buffalo's offense has been missing since Stephon Diggs was traded to Houston this offseason. The deal is also a financial bargain for the Bills. They'll only be paying him roughly $800,000 as the Browns converted most of his salary to a signing bonus over the summer. Cooper does come with some risk, however. His production has dropped a decent amount so far this season, and he currently leads the NFL in drops with 9. The Bills hope Cooper can be a stabilizing presence in their wide receiver room as they push for a 5th straight division title. Cooper will make his Bills debut on Sunday at 1 p.m. as Buffalo hosts the Tennessee Titans. And Jules, I did hear an interesting tidbit that with Cooper on his way from Cleveland to Buffalo, he actually drove all the way up I-90 from Cleveland to Buffalo, which means the newest Buffalo Bill drove right through Dunkirk and Fredonia the other day.
Look at that. We could have driven past him and had no
could have,
idea.
Exactly. We could have passed him on the highway and had no idea.
That's awesome. Yeah. Did I hear that right? $800,000.
$800,000, which to you and me sounds like a lot of money, but for an NFL wide receiver, those players make sometimes upwards of $20, $30 million a year. So $800,000 is a pretty good deal for Buffalo.
That's crazy. Because we said a mere $800,000, but I guess that's lower than normal?
Significantly compared to other players, yeah, and it helps the Bills who are really hurting for money trying to pay everyone.
Yeah. Well, that's crazy. That would be lovely to get paid $800,000 as a minimum.
Yeah.
But anyway, we are now going to send it over to Katie for our weather forecast. What do you have for us, Katie?
Thank you, Jules. This week, we've been seeing that fall weather really start to kick in. As today, we've only had a high of 52 degrees with a low of 42. We've had a pretty cloudy day with some small possibility of showers throughout the day with only a chance of 24% of rain. Tomorrow, it will be a little warmer with mostly sunny skies and a high of 59 degrees. There will be a pretty low chance of rain with only 12%, and at night it will dip down into the low 40s. This week, we'll start to see it warm up a bit, so stay tuned for when I return. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Katie, and thank you, Matt, for our sports update. We'll be back for your international headlines.
This one's for the real ballers and shot callers, the sisterhood of women in tech. They're discovering cures, building apps, and programming the blockchain. They're CEOs, worldwide hustlers who can make it rain. They're tearing down the old boys club and seeing big gains. Because when women in tech come together, you know they make that change.
Every day,
millions of people are connecting.
And even though we're overcoming obstacles,
watching each other's backs,
and banding together,
we should still make an effort.
To get to know each other
on a deeper level. Father,
cosplayer,
mentor,
actor.
It's time we take a step forward.
It's time we take a step forward.
Come together
and discover
how accepting our differences
can make us stronger.
How prepared is your family if a hurricane shows up at your doorstep, or a flood, or a blizzard? You can't just turn away a natural disaster. That's why it's important to go to ready.gov/plan now. It has the tools and tips you need to make an emergency plan with your family. So if disaster comes knocking,
let's go.
You'll be ready to help keep your family safe.
It's just a pizza.
Yes.
Make a plan today.
Pandas have been sent from Hong Kong and are making their way to the Smithsonian National Zoo in Washington. In recent decades, China has used pandas as a symbolic way of representing national alliances with foreign countries. The National Zoo has been without the black and white bears for nearly a full year after the end of a loan agreement. Relations between President Biden and Chinese President Xi Jinping have been improving as a pair of pandas arrive in Washington. According to the NBC, Washington, the new pandas, started their journey last week and have been cared for by 3 expert veterinarians. The pair includes Xing Bao, a 3-year-old female, and Bao Li, a 3-year-old male.
The Sahara Desert flooded for the first time in decades. Striking images of the desert show large lakes etched into rolling sand dunes after one of the most barren places in the world was hit with its first flood in years. The Sahara does experience rain, but usually just a few inches a year and rarely so late in the summer. However, for 2 days in September, intense rain fell in parts of the desert near southeast Morocco after a low-pressure system pushed across the northwest Sahara. Images from NASA's satellite show nearly 8 inches of rain in some parts of the region. A Moroccan meteorologist claimed, quote, "It's been 30 to 50 years since we've had this much rain in such a short space of time," end quote. As the rain flowed over the desert terrain, it created a new watery landscape amid the palm trees and scrubby flora. The rain also filled lakes that are normally dry, such as one located in Morocco's largest national park. More extreme rainfall events could be expected in the Sahara in the future, according to recent research, as fossil fuel pollution continues to heat up the planet and disrupt the water cycle.
The World Food Program reported on Monday that there has been no food delivered to Gaza since October, and 1 million people are at risk for starvation. In August, 700 aid food trucks were allowed to enter Gaza, and in September, only 400 were allowed to enter. This is due to the ceasing of operations at the Al-Anbai crossing of the West Bank and Jordan. Two main bakeries in the center of Gaza have also been closed for several days due to lack of supplies and fuel. People are traveling to search for food in order to feed their families. Flour is crucial to the humanitarian end in Gaza, as many displaced people have come to rely on bread as a consistent form of food. With the Israeli army launching a new ground invasion at the beginning of the month, new evacuation orders have been issued as well. Many Palestinians have expressed concern with safe zones, as many have been attacked in the past. And after the break, a look at another top box office movie. Ariana Grande hosts SNL and the selling of a Game of Thrones armor. We'll be right back.
We've been down there. You gotta do the same. Post office. All you do is sign. So don't get nervous. Sign your name. For selective service. It takes no time. Just sign on the line at the post office. For selective service.
Hey guys, if you're about to turn 18, you've got to register with Selective Service. It's simple. Just go down to the post office, fill out a card, and turn it in. That's all there is to it. There's no draft now. You're just adding your name to Selective Service's list in case there's a national emergency.
So if you're 18 now, Selective Service, you gotta get down. Post office.
Register with Selective Service. It's quick, it's easy, and it's the law.
Takes no time, just sign on the line at the post office. Selective Service.
The newest entry in the Terrifier series, Terrifier 3, slashed its way to the top spot in the North American box office, bringing in a staggering $18.3 million during its opening weekend. It's an impressive start for the low-budget independent slasher film about a demonic clown terrorizing a small town. Meanwhile, Joker Foi Deux was #1 last weekend, but dropped to 3rd place. So far, Foi Deux has made $51.6 million domestically and $165.3 million globally. However, despite also starring Joaquin Phoenix and Lady Gaga, the film received poor reception with a D on CinemaScore and a 33% on Rotten Tomatoes. With its hefty $200 million budget, the Warner Brothers film missed the mark, needing around $450 million just to break even. On the other hand, Terrifier 3 with a $2 million budget is praised by critics and audiences alike, scoring a B on CinemaScore and 77% on Rotten Tomatoes. The third gory installment in the Terrifier trilogy has already surpassed the global earnings of its predecessor Terrifier 2 in 2022, leaving fans eager to see where the story will go.
Ariana Grande recently made her 3rd appearance as a host on Saturday Night Live, bringing a mix of humor and nostalgia to the stage. The show kicked off with a cold open featuring Maya Rudolph as Vice President Kamala Harris, alongside former cast members in a comedic take on Family Feud. Her opening monologue, she joked about her past visits and the current political climate, noting that, quote, "Last time I hosted, we were on the verge of electing our first female president," end quote. In the place of Grande performing as a musical guest was Stevie Nicks, who took on the role of the performer and played both new and old hits. Next week, Michael Keaton will be the host of Saturday Night Live, featuring Billie Eilish as the musical guest.
Props and costumes from the hit show Game of Thrones have been auctioned for an estimated $21 million. Last week, the Heritage Auction event in Dallas sold over 900 items full of armor, props, jewelry, and set pieces from the famous HBO series. Bids started between $500 to $20,000, but sometimes ended in the millions. The highest bidded item was the coveted Iron Throne, which sold for $1.5 million after a furious bidding war. Ironically, the Iron Throne is a symbol of the struggle for power both in the show and in real life. Heritage Executive Vice President Joe Madonna knew it would be a success, stating, quote, "These are extraordinary treasures made by Emmy-winning costume designers and prop makers," end quote. Did you get to see the second Joker?
The second, no, I live under a rock. I won't
Okay.
watch.
I didn't see
I
it
won't watch
either.
clown movies, so we're not watching that one. I don't care
And
about the
Joker
Joker.
too, yeah.
It's boring. Sorry, I don't care. You can be mad at me, but
Interesting.
the only thing that I actually kind of knew about from entertainment was the SNL thing, because I saw a Instagram reel of it where they were like singing Espresso, and it was like.
I haven't
it was
seen
so
it yet,
bad.
but I'll have to take a look at it.
I just live under a rock, so I can't really talk about any of this. But now we're going to toss it to weather one more time tonight for the end of the weekend weather. How's it looking, Katie?
Thank you, Kellyanne. This weekend will be a nice, warm fall weekend, starting on Friday with sunny skies and a high of 64 degrees. Be sure to pack a jacket if you plan on staying out late, as it will drop down to 45 degrees at night. Saturday and Sunday, it will warm up even more, with both days having a high of 67 degrees. Saturday, it will still cool down at night with a low of 49, and Sunday, it will be warmer night with a low of 53 degrees. This weekend is a perfect time to enjoy some of that fall weather and enjoy it before it gets too cold. Back to you guys.
Thank you so much, Katie, for our weekend weather. So that does it for News 11. Thank you to our behind-the-scenes crew, and we'll be back next week.
As always, thank you to everyone watching at home. Have a great night.